Today on Subsats, I'm your host, Chris, founder of Ithaca Hummus, CEO of Ithaca Hummus, Bitcoin smash buyer, and proud multi-coiner. And I'm joined by my co-host, Stewart.
Ooh, co-host seat. I love it. Stewart, Bitcoin maxi, prescription sunglasses, protection from my super hot orange Bitcoin laser eyes.
Yo, you just ate up like 5 minutes right there.
Right there, dude. We're going to call these prescription sunglasses, okay? So we want to dive into a topical topic.
Yeah, we're thinking how tariffs might impact Bitcoin. Okay. We're hearing a lot about tariffs. Obviously, it's in the news. And I've gotten some text messages. Hey, how are tariffs going to impact Bitcoin? So I do what I always do when I think I know, but I'm not actually sure. I pull up ChatGPT.
Chappy.
Okay.
There.
So what does ChatGPT have to say? Let's see. 1, inflation and currency devaluation. We've got Bitcoin acting as a hedge when tariffs impact the public's perception of, wait a second, is this going to cause more inflation, even more inflation than normal? I might want to actually pull back on the US dollar or traditional investments even more and instead put my money into something that is deflationary instead of inflationary. What do you think about that, Stewart?
Okay, so Chappie is saying that tariffs might create inflation or devalue currency, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, well, and I was in the car today, all right? I'm listening to NPR News this morning. Hey, the current nation-state president threw some tariffs out there, Canada, Mexico, China, I think, and they said this might start inflation. This might kick inflation back off. You know what I think about that? Tariffs are a way for the nation state to make you feel like inflation is happening for some other reason than them printing more and more and more money. So, hey, tariffs are the topic of the day. Earlier in time, it was supply chain shortage. Earlier in time, it was geopolitical conflict. It doesn't matter what the nation state tells you is responsible for inflation or might be kicking off inflation or whatever.
Right.
It's printing money that leads to this thing.
Well, and the reality is no one has a crystal ball, right? But last night, as I'm reading various articles and headlines on inflation and what various people think that it's going to do to our economy, to Bitcoin, et cetera, I had different thoughts and feelings about it than when I woke up this morning and I saw that in the case of Mexico, in exchange for a pause on the tariffs, Mexico has agreed to supply the border with 10,000 troops to help with the open border issue that many feel we have on our southern border. So maybe the tariffs in some way are really just being used as a negotiation tactic, or it gives us a little bit more leverage in conversations outside of just economics and finance.
And I think Chris is going to be a great voice of reason for the pre-coiners out there in our audience. And your boy Stewart over here is going to go full Bitcoin maxi because your silly lines on a map have no impact on the earth itself. And so when you try to say that this is my area and that's your area, and your products are going to cost more when they come into my area. I mean, this is like my kids saying, stay off my side of the car, bro. Are you kidding me? A tariff is a nation state's attempt to control its economy in one way or another. And we just had a great episode with number 15J when it drops, check it out. We talk about how you cannot control an economy. If somebody says, as soon as your products cross my border, they become magically more expensive, okay? Or you have to pay to get your products into my nation state, they're drawing an artificial line and they're attempting to control that economy. But you can't control the economy any more than you can control the force of gravity or the path our planet takes through outer space. So what happens? The items that we're buying get more expensive for us, okay? The people that are supplying America with products, it's not really going to hurt them all that much. It's going to hurt you and me because the stuff that we're buying is already getting more expensive because our dollars are getting worse and worse and worse. Now they get more expensive just because it's an absolute mess. And if you're interested in learning more, check out this book I just read. It's called 40 Centuries of Wage and Price Controls. It goes through the history of mankind attempting to control prices, wages, and the economy for 4,000 years. And guess what has happened each time a form of government has attempted to put its finger on the natural flow of the marketplace?
Collapse.
Absolute failure. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
But I guarantee that today, these tariffs will be the reason why things are getting more and more expensive all the time.
Well, it was really interesting because late last night and into the early morning today, we actually saw price of Bitcoin, which is really a pretty obscure idea because when we talk about the price of Bitcoin, we're really talking about the price of Bitcoin in relation to the US dollar.
Mm-hmm.
It appeared as though the price of Bitcoin had gone down, or the value of Bitcoin had gone down. And what I believe was really happening is that the public perception of the US dollar was temporarily going up. People were like, oh, wow, the US dollar, we're imposing all these tariffs on Canada and Mexico and other countries. And so that should lead to a stronger dollar.
Mm-hmm.
So the price of Bitcoin goes down in relation to the dollar. But then, as we saw today, it bounced back immediately. So we were at like $91,000, I think, at the low. Now we're back up to 100. But back to...
And by the way, right there, another option might be that the nation state president announces tariffs on Friday. All your traditional trading types know that it's going to be an absolute maelstrom Monday morning when the bell goes off 9:30. So they need to find cash to cover whatever nonsense that they've gotten themselves into before it occurs. Where can they go to get that cash? Well, there's only one asset that you can work with 24/7, 365 until infinity. That's Bitcoin. So over the weekend, they sell off their Bitcoin to get some cash to cover whatever needs to happen. And then the markets, who knows, right?
Who knows?
But the biggest thing that I feel is that Bitcoin doesn't care. Bitcoin doesn't care about your tariffs. Bitcoin doesn't care about your supply chains. Bitcoin is the money badger.
Yeah. So the real answer, right? Like, how do tariffs affect Bitcoin? Bitcoin is a global currency. Okay. It's not owned or operated or dependent on any individual nation state. It's the first of its kind. It's the hardest money ever created.
Let's go.
It's global.
Come on.
So it's the first true free market the world has ever experienced. So how do tariffs impact it? Well, in relation to nation state paper, there's going to be some fluctuation, but ultimately tariffs don't impact it. But let's move on quickly.
Okay.
To the other topic that ChatGPT is giving us, which is nation state paper. Those are, they have borders, right?
Mm-hmm.
Traditional finance operates with some barriers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoin is borderless money. So let's riff on that for just a second. What do you think about that, Stu?
I tell you what, Bitcoin's like, okay, so you're telling me that yesterday a car going across the border from Mexico to America stays roughly the same price, but today a car going across from Mexico to America becomes 25% more expensive, allegedly for the person that is attempting to take the car across the border to sell it into America. But we know it's actually going to end up making it 25% more expensive for us. Bitcoin says, big whoop, okay? Who cares? I am a global form of money, and your nation state, geopolitical, nobody cares. If you have governments, if you have nation states that are clowning around with one another, and they're using tariffs as tools, they're trying to be political, they're printing their own currency. If your nation state is LARPing, if it is live action role playing like a paladin in Darkon, okay, then what's going to happen to Bitcoin? It's going to go up, because Bitcoin is something that you can rely on.
All right, LARPing, paladin. I'm not so sure what some of that means, but I think we've given our listeners a good, concentrated episode here on our thoughts and opinions about what tariffs do to Bitcoin. So let's keep it short. Let's wrap it up. Let's ask our viewers to comment. Did we miss anything? Are you left with more questions? Either way, definitely subscribe. Definitely share with your friends and family. Stewart, you want to hit us with that quick, what do we call it at the end of the episode?
The disclaimer?
Hit it.
So, remember, tariffs are a form of wage and price control. Humans have tried that for 4,000 years or more. They don't work. Buy Bitcoin. Hang on to your Bitcoin. It's okay. Now, remember as well, sat chats, sat chit chats, sat chat zaps, whatever, is for educational purposes only and should not be construed as financial advice.